In late 2024, I was scrolling through TikTok when I noticed a trend. A particularly upbeat song was trending as people played it over videos of various games. After a few videos, I was curious enough to search the song up, and it turned out to be It's Going Down Now from the recently released Persona 3 Reload. Now, I had heard of Persona before. I even owned a copy of Persona 5, despite never playing it for some reason. But the music was catchy enough where I decided, why not? And I ordered the game. And after that, I put it on my shelf and forgot about it. It wasn't until April of last year that I finally played it. And if only I had known sooner how much that one TikTok trend would affect me. I quickly fell in love with Persona 3 Reload, and as the credits rolled a month later, I felt hollow. You know, the kind of hollow that you feel after experiencing a story that you know will stick with you. I quickly bought Persona 4, but ended up dropping it. Insert the meme of the guy mining for diamonds. Instead, I started Persona 5, and finished it a few months later. The trend continued after that as I picked Persona 4 back up and fell in love with that one too. In the span of about 6 months, the Persona series affected me in a way that few pieces of media do. But why? You know, I've been asking myself this recently. Why is this series so near and dear to not only me, but millions of others? There's countless reasons, each of them varying for different people. But for me, the reason Persona is so beloved is due to its themes, messages, and characters. To make it simple, I'll be arranging each game in the order that I played them. So Persona 3 will be first, then 5, and lastly 4. And for the old fans out there, I know 1 and 2 are fantastic, but I have not played enough of them to include them in this video. Maybe next time. And also just to clarify, as this is the internet, these are my interpretations of the games. You will no doubt have, similar or different takes, so please keep that in mind. And feel free to share in the comments below, as I'd love to encourage discussions of these stories. Also, I will be spoiling all 3 games heavily, so please be warned. So, starting off with Persona 3, the theme is that of death. Throughout the game, we see many depictions and references to death. The most obvious one is the avatar of death itself, Nyx, who manifests itself throughout the game as Pharos and Ryoji. During Makoto Yuki's Persona awakening, Pharos appears to guide him, forming a bond with Makoto representing the death social link. Eventually manifesting into Ryoji, death takes on a new form, growing closer to those around him. As Ryoji bonds with his friends, he develops an appreciation of life and realizes he's going to love Makoto and their friendship. Once he regains his memories of death, he is saddened by the idea of the world ending and losing his friends. But ultimately, he accepts whatever outcome Cease decides. Akinari is another example of accepting death. Diagnosed with a terminal illness, he finds escape in books, but has a hard time finishing them. As you continue his social link, he tells Makoto that he wants to finish his own story that he's writing. And while the ending is initially planned to be bleak like his current outlook on life, bonding with Makoto changes Akinari. At the end of his story, he stops taking his medicine in order to write more clearly. He ends his story on a happy note, with the main character giving others something beautiful with his death, showing that someone's death does not define the way that they lived. And lastly, the way that the characters summon their personas is the most visual representation of death. By placing the evoker to their heads, they are evoking the image of accepting death. In the beginning, Yukari struggles with this. It isn't until she is attacked and sees Makoto put his own life on the line that she's able to accept the inevitability of death and summon her own persona. Which brings us into the main message of Persona 3, Memento Mori, or accepting that you will die, that nothing will stop it, and you have to decide what to do with the time that you have been given. Throughout the game, you are given the chance to develop bonds or social links with those around you. A more pessimistic view would say, what's the point? The game ends anyway. At some point, you're going to leave these characters, so why bother spending time with them? In the game's finale, there's a point where Makoto is ready to give up, to let death take him. But he is reminded of his bonds, and they give him the strength to accept death and ultimately defeat Nyx. This is what the game is telling us. Yes, we will die, but we need to live life to the fullest. Build those relationships. Learn to love life in spite of death. to accept the grief that comes with death and not let it consume us. A prime example of this is Yukari. When we meet her, she has already lost her dad. She can be cold at times, and it may seem like she is incapable of feeling. But as we grow closer to her, we learn that she is anything but. Yukari loves deeply and cares for her friends and those around her. The way that she deals with grief is by isolating herself. If she cuts off those around her, she assumes that she can't be hurt anymore than she already has. Makoto and her friends ease her out of her shell, showing her that she can love, that the pain of loss is proof that she has something worthwhile in the first place. And after Makoto dies, she reverts back to her cold self, until her friends remind her that grief is a reminder of something loved, and she's finally able to accept Makoto's sacrifice and move on. Each of our party members deal with death throughout the story. Mitsuru loses her father, Koromaru loses his master, Ken lost his mother, which leads to his confrontation with Shinji, who ends up losing his own life and deeply affects Akihiko and Ken, along with the others. After Junpei is shot, Chidori willingly sacrifices herself to bring him back. Death surrounds these characters, but over the course of the game we see them overcome it time and time again. Throughout the story, Makoto sees countless depictions of death, ultimately coming to accept his by making the sacrifice to become the Great Seal. His journey teaches him acceptance along the way. Makoto could have given up at the end, but the bonds he formed with his loved ones gave him the strength he needed. Aigis is a perfect encapsulation of the game's message. As she learns what it means to live and find out life's meaning, we are reminded as well. In her own words,
following your heart, fighting for what you can change, and accepting the things you can't.
Persona 3 is a game about death, but it's also about life. We all die, nothing changes that. But it's what we do with our lives that matter. It's something we need reminding about sometimes. We need to live and enjoy our lives despite everything else. I love Persona 3 and I'm glad I was reminded to enjoy life to its fullest. Persona 5 has a lighter tone, but it is just as important. Freedom and rebellion are its main themes. Most of the characters are shown as conforming to their roles in society, but the Phantom Thieves are the ones that break free. And it isn't easy. Rebelling against who you're told to be and gaining the freedom of your true self is difficult. A great way that they show this is when they awaken their personas. In order to do so, one has to tear off the mask that they wear. It is a brutal experience, but worth the pain. Once they do so, they are able to express who they really are and help others onto that path. The main message of Persona 5 is, as the opening song states, to wake up, get up, get up there. The game is urging us to wake up, to stop settling into the mindless routines that we get stuck in. To get up, to get off our butts and go do something about our predicament. And to get out there, to break our mindless routine, to be who we actually are, not who we're told to be. A great example of this is Makoto Nijima. At the beginning, we see every adult in her life telling her what to do. Her sister Sai tells her to be the model student, to conform and be perfect in society's eyes. Her principal tells her to investigate anything that might disrupt his perfect vision of the school. Makoto accepts this at first, but over the story, she changes. She grows tired of the forced conformity and rebels, awakening her true self. But again, rebellion can be painful. Sumire, or Kasumi, exemplifies this. It isn't until we learn of Maruki's true nature that we also learn of Sumi's. Maruki is an excellent example of how conforming can be detrimental to ourselves. His desire to create a perfect world is an admirable one, but it suppresses everyone's true self underneath a mask of fake perfection. Sumire wanted to be perfect, to be her older sister Kasumi. But by doing so, she buried her true self, not allowing herself to grow. It isn't until the Phantom Thieves help her accept her guilt over Kasumi's death that she's able to remove her mask and accept who she really is. Along the way, the Phantom Thieves learn to wake up and rebel against their society. Ryuji leads the charge, urging the group to find corrupt individuals and bring them to justice. Anne, after almost losing her friend Shiho, decides to take back her life as she resolves to always look forward and not let others define her. Yusuke refuses to give up his love of painting, not letting the bitter betrayal of his mentor ruin the thing that he loves. Futaba fights against herself and her depression, learning not to blame herself after the tragic death of her mother, becoming more outgoing and confident in herself, while Haru rebels against the controlling men in her life who would have her be just an object of business. And finally, we have Morgana. All he wants throughout the story is to learn who he really is. His mask is the unknown part of his past, but eventually he remembers that he's the embodiment of humanity's hope, formed from humanity's collective cognition. Morgana doesn't have to rebel, as there's nothing for him to rebel against. His purpose was to lead the Phantom Thieves to their point of rebellion, to give them that hope. Persona 5 is a game full of hope. It is a reminder that even if we are in a slump, if we feel that we must conform and live life by society's rules, we don't have to. We can rebel and live as we see fit. It's a wonderful message and reminder in a fantastic game. Persona 4 is a game about truth, and uncovering it wherever it may be. This is shown in the main crux of the story, where the group must uncover what exactly is going on in their small town of Inaba, but is deeply ingrained in the character arcs as well. Every person we interact with is hiding some truth about themselves, whether or not they know it, and we must find that truth and accept whatever we find. Accepting every part of yourself is the main message of Persona 4. Every character goes through this. Despite how ugly it may be, or how much you don't want to acknowledge this side of yourself, you have to. Otherwise, you'd be overwhelmed by it, and the people around you can help you do that if you let them. The characters in Persona 4 are personally my favorite in the series, as each one of them have a wonderful arc as they accept themselves. During Yosuke's social leak, he comes to accept that he was resentful of Inaba, that he wanted to play the small-town hero, and was jealous that Narukami, the protagonist, got to do just that. His storyline ends with him accepting that part of himself, and growing closer to his friend. Chie hides the fact that she was jealous of Yukiko, that a part of her was only friends with her so that she could have someone to depend on her. Chie ends up realizing her feelings and apologizes to Yukiko, which strengthens their friendship. Yukiko expresses the desire to leave Inaba. In her eyes, she can't live a normal life if she continues to work at her family's inn. In the Persona 4 anime, this is expanded even more with a bird that she cares for. She tells it that it's just like her and can only live in its cage. That is until one day, where she forgets to lock the cage and the bird flies away. Yukiko comes to accept that her cage isn't locked either, but that she enjoys her life at the inn. So she resolves to stay in Inaba as her own choice and not someone else's. Kanji portrays himself as a tough delinquent, but deep down he is softer. He likes knitting and making stupid cute shit! He also struggles with his feelings, possibly liking those of his same gender. And after his experience in his dungeon, Kanji comes to accept his softer side and his potential sexuality. He uses this newfound softness to grow closer to the group, coming to their defense more frequently to show how much he cares for them. Rise has a lot of complicated feelings inside her. She worries that the real Rise will be lost if she continues to be the idol Rosette, among other personalities. In the anime, this is shown literally, with a few different versions of herself. And over the course of her story, she comes to accept Rosette as part of her many traits, and decides to return to her career, accepting all of the Rises within herself. Naoto is one of the most complicated characters in Persona. She grew up watching old detective shows, and always wanted to be like her heroes that she saw on TV. And as she tried to make a name for herself, her own insecurities formed from her age and gender led to her presenting herself as a boy in order to be taken more seriously. As the game plays out, she comes to accept this about herself, that it was never about her gender or age, but being accepted as a person. And after her dungeon, she slowly starts to accept her more feminine side with the help of her friends. Teddy comes to realize that he is a shadow, and he only accepts himself once the others also accept him. Yosuke helps him realize that he is just like them, still discovering the truth about who he really is. You will constantly find new truths about yourself, and all you can do is accept them. Despite how hard it might be, how difficult the truth is, it is okay to accept it. Keeping the truth hidden will only hurt you. and the people around you can help you accept that if you let them. And that is why I adored Persona 4. The Persona series affected me greatly. It's not often a series comes along and does that, and I'm so grateful I was able to experience it. It gave me an appreciation of the life I have, and encouraged me to get out of my comfort zone and try new things. And I relearned things about myself that I had forgotten. Life can get crazy sometimes, and we need a reminder every so often to actually live, not just go through life on autopilot. I love that this series can be a reminder of that for so many people, from teens just discovering their hidden truths to older people like me who just needed that reminder and push to be better. Persona has become a beloved franchise to so many people, and for so many reasons, and I love that I'm now one of these people. I will always cherish the impact that these stories had on me, and will try to live up to their messages. So don't forget to appreciate life, wake up, get out there, and reach out to the truth that's hidden inside you. And that's the video. It was interesting writing this video, as I had no plans to, and then it just kind of came to me one night after work, and I wrote an 8-page essay after this, this is my first video essay, and my first essay that I've written in a while. But I just wanted to, just kind of share my thoughts about this series. And again, I just hope you guys, share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear why this series means a lot to you. If you like the video, please, like it, subscribe. But most importantly, I just want you guys to have a good day. Bye-bye.